This is a warning. Please listen carefully. I am about to use the F word. Yes, the F word. If any of you are overly sensitive or there are small children running about, please take the requisite precautions. Are you ready? Here it is. Failure! Yes, failure. That's the F word. And not just ordinary failure, but abject, colossal, and complete failure. That's the only way to describe the war. Which war, you ask? The war on drugs, of course. The war on drugs is a complete, abject, and colossal failure. Americans are wonderful people, but we seemingly do not learn from our mistakes. You've all heard about Prohibition? A 14-year fiasco that began in 1919 and ended in 1933. Alcohol was banned, and the result? The creation of a vast criminal network, thousands of illegal watering holes, massive disrespect for the law, millions spent to corrupt public officials, and the diminishment of America's prestige. Mr. Toastmaster, fellow Toastmasters, and guests, I will do my best to convince you this morning, using data and testimony, that the only sensible course that we can pursue in ending the drug pestilence is full legalization with monitoring immediately. The so-called war on drugs began 37 years ago. It was the brainchild of that paragon of presidents, Richard Milhous Nixon. And like his career, has been an unmitigated disaster. The toll in human lives, money, wasted resources, it's staggering. It's just staggering. However, it has been a great benefit for corrupt politicians and officials, the drug cartels, the growers, the prison industrial complex, and the street gangs which litter our cities like so much dog poop. People, you are at great risk. Houston is now the major transit point for guns and drugs flowing both ways across the border. The gang violence that has turned Mexico, Colombia, Guatemala, and other Latin American countries into almost failed states is here. And that's not just my opinion. Just a few days ago in the paper, cartel slaying's on rise in our city. The truth is that people will use drugs. They will drink, they will smoke, they will gamble, they will overeat. They will find hundreds of other pursuits with which to fuel addiction, including video games, Twitter, Facebook, and my personal favorite addiction, ice cream. This is human nature. People will continue to ingest heroin, crack cocaine, marijuana, amphetamines, Vicodin, and Twinkies. We must accept this as fact. How many here have taken basic economics courses? In Economics 101, we learned that the basic law of economics is supply and demand. Wherever there is demand, there will be supply, regardless of the obstacles. And there is real demand for drugs. The latest estimate is that 35 million Americans are addicted to drugs, 22 million to hard drugs, and countless others are occasional users. That's demand. So will there be supply? Say yes.
Yes.
Thank you. Here are more ugly statistics as reported on NPR, on TV, and in the print media. Coca production is up even after $5 billion has been spent on Plan Colombia. In the last 90 years, over 34 million Americans have been arrested for drug offenses. It was estimated recently that 2 million pounds of poppy heroin was grown in Afghanistan last year. 93% of the world's supply. And that's after we've been there for 8 years. More Americans are dying of drug overdose than ever before. And over 1 trillion has been spent in a fruitless effort to control and eradicate the problem. Sadly, most everything you have been told about drugs by your government is not true. Fib number 1, marijuana is a gateway drug. False. Real studies have shown that 76 million Americans have tried marijuana, and only 8 million have tried cocaine or heroin. Fib number 2, if drugs were legalized, there would be an explosion of drug use. False. Studies by several states that have legalized certain drugs have shown no increase in overall drug usage. Other countries where drugs are legal report the same. Fib number 3, needle exchange programs lead to increased drug usage. False. The Surgeon General and the Secretary of the U.S. Department of Health have refuted this argument repeatedly. Fib number 4, current drug policy protects American youth. That's a horrible misstatement. The fact is that the drug war has ruined the lives of thousands of young people because of high arrest rates, especially targeting minority youth and saddling them with criminal records, exposing them to hardened criminals and preventing them from leading useful lives. Many youths with drug problems are afraid to seek medical care because of the fear of being arrested. The most negative result is the fact that so many kids, especially minorities, grow up with a parent in prison. Currently, at least 2 million children have a parent in jail. And most of these are for drug offenses. The drug war has failed to keep drugs away from children and has presented contradictory information about the dangers of drugs. The most well-known program, DARE, the Drug Abuse Resistance Education, has been a miserable failure, and yet it continues to be funded with millions of your dollars every year. Fib number 5, illegal drug use is a scourge against our nation. Oh, really? Tobacco kills 435,000 Americans and sickens millions of others. Nicotine is a more powerful drug than heroin. That is a fact. And costs the U.S. over $100 billion a year. We do tax tobacco so that states can make money from disease and death. Alcohol, over 100,000 deaths. And those don't count the traffic deaths and injuries. We allow that too, and tax it like tobacco. The body count for drugs is 32,000 dead, from the famous like Michael Jackson, Heath Ledger, Anna Nicole Smith, to average citizens. By the way, marijuana, zero deaths. When you consider the obscene amounts of money spent on the war on drugs, the pervasive corruption, the excessively high rates of incarceration, the only logical conclusion is that it's the drug war that is the scourge on our society. Now, this is just not my opinion. I've collected a few articles from our newspaper. I could easily have a stack this high. The Taliban, cash flow is tough to stem. The Taliban are being funded by drugs. And what do they do with the money? They kill Americans. The probe finds city a magnet for cartels. Do you know that the drug cartels are number 96